Hello and welcome to Addiction Services of Thames Valley Supportive Information Sessions. The following presentation will discuss the impacts of that substance use has on parenting. However, before we start, let's review how to connect with our services, connect with mental health supports, and to minimize our risk of contracting coronavirus. You can connect with services in Elgin County, Oxford County, Middlesex, and London. Please feel free to contact us between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. Monday to Friday. Although we are not currently providing face-to-face services in response to COVID-19, we are still providing counseling supports over the phone and virtually. You can contact us at 519-673-3242, extension 222 for information and intake support. Current clients and intake support can call extension 284. Family members and intake support can contact extension 221. And if you're looking for withdrawal support, you can contact extension 248 or the Rapid Access to Addiction Medicine, so the RAM clinics, at extension 281. For additional mental health supports, I would welcome you to contact Reach Out 24/7 at 1-866-933-2023, or you can web chat at reachout247.ca. If you need to talk to somebody and you're feeling stressed or overwhelmed, or even lonely, you can call the support line at 519-601-8055. On the right hand of the screen, you can see other ways to connect, and you're welcome to reference this slide in the future. So COVID-19, tips to protect yourself. What we do know is that COVID-19 is a new illness that can affect your lungs and your airways, and it's caused by the virus called coronavirus. Some ways that we can minimize our risk is to wash our hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds, or use hand sanitizer if your hands are not covered in dirt. If you're experiencing any symptoms or you're feeling unwell, please stay home. This may include a fever or a cough or difficulty breathing. If you do need to be in the presence of somebody else, keep a 2-meter or a 6-foot distance. Practicing good hygiene is the best way to protect yourself against this novel coronavirus and even any other illnesses during the cold and flu season. If you'd like to participate in the self-assessment, you can go to this website here below at the bottom of the screen, or you can call the Middlesex London Health Unit, and they have a COVID-19 dedicated line. You can call them, and it's at extension 1. Please be aware that I will be navigating for my notes so that I can get all the information to you. I will be following my notes. If you would like to follow along, I would invite you to follow along through the PowerPoint as I navigate us through this presentation. So before we begin, let's do a grounding exercise. The purpose of this exercise is to help the mind and body relax. It can also help us focus and to be open to improve our inner awareness and to support making positive mental or physical changes during the day. So to begin this meditation, please select a quiet and comfortable position in your chair. Please take a nice, relaxed posture. Let yourself sit upright with the quiet dignity of a king or a queen. Close your eyes gently, or please look at these rocks that I have up on your screen, and gently bring your full attention to whatever you feel within you or around you. Let your mind be spacious and your heart be kind and soft. As you sit, you may feel some sensations in your body. You may notice what sounds and feelings and thoughts and expectations are present or around you. Just allow them to come and to go, to rise and fall like the waves of an ocean. Be aware of these waves and rest yourself amongst them. allowing yourself to become more and more still. In the center of these waves, you feel your breathing. This is your life breath. Allow your attention to feel the in and out breathing wherever you notice it. May it be a cool tingling in your nose or your throat. May it be the rise and fall of your chest or an abdomen. Relax and softly rest your attention on each breath, allowing it to move in a slow and steady way. You may notice that sometimes that it's much more difficult to calm yourself and to calm your body, and other times it might be easier. If you find that your attention is carried away by one of these waves or one of these thoughts or these memories, wherever you notice it, that's okay. Label it, acknowledge it, and allow it to roll out on a wave. Let it pass and gently return to your breath. You may notice that at some points it's much easier to allow this to happen. Be patient with yourself and kind, and know that grounding takes practice. When you feel ready, I'll welcome you to come back and we can begin our presentation. So my name is April. I am an addiction mental health counselor at Addiction Services of Thames Valley, and I'm here today to talk to you about parenting and addiction. So how can we plant the seeds of change in a way that will positively impact our children that we care about, that we support, or that we raise? This may include the people who are helpers in our children's lives. This may be people that we love and we care about. What we do know is that when we're raising our children, we want probably one of the following. We want them to be able to build healthy relationships with friends and professionals and intimate partners. We want them to be able to stay focused and present in the moment. We want them to be able to learn from their past behaviors. What's worked before? What's not worked? We want them to learn how to predict consequences and learn from some of their past behaviors. We want them to develop empathy by recognizing and identifying the emotions in others. We want them to be able to process the cause and effect and be able to project outcomes using the information from their past events to make healthier future decisions. It takes a village to raise a child. No matter who you are here today, whether you come as a mom or an aunt or a grandmother, maybe you're a father or an uncle or a sister or cousin, whatever you come here today, please know that you can have a positive impact on a child's life. It's important to know that even the simplest and genuine caring gestures can shape the architecture of a child's developing brain and create new sustainable pathways. Some of the people, when we talk about how it takes a village to raise a child, some of the people that may have influence over the growth and development of our children are daycare providers or school and support staff. This could be parents or extended family, spiritual or religious supports. This might be organized clubs like soccer, or gymnastics, or hockey. It could be our leaders for our sports teams. It may be community organizations like the Boys and Girls Club or the YMCA. Whoever these are, how do we work together in an environment to create healthy and appropriate places for our children to live, grow, and thrive? So really, what is parenting? Simply put, parenting is the process of taking care of a child until they're old enough to take care of themselves. We may look at this dictionary definition. It seems pretty straightforward. maybe even uncomplicated or easy. But what we do know is even under the best of circumstances, parenting can be challenging. It can be demanding and difficult, confusing, tiring. It can be thankless and stressful. But it can also be rewarding and beautiful, sincere, joyful, loving, meaningful, and delightful. How can we focus on these positives of parenting to create that internal shift and plant the seeds of healthy change? We likely want one of these following for our children. We all want our children to be healthy and to thrive and to be well. We want them to be able to have a healthy mind, body, and spirit so they can cope with the stresses that will come to them in life. We want them to be happy and confident in the decisions that they make, whether they travel or buy a house or have a family. We want them to be well equipped to take on the task of being a parent or a step parent. We want them to have and choose successful or satisfying careers in their life. We want them to go on to post-education. We want them to move past high school and into a career that brings them joy and satisfaction. We want them to create sustainable and healthy friendships that can help support them endure over time. Maybe we want them to own a house or a home somewhere that can be stable, that they can call their own. Maybe we want them to be able to volunteer or give back to the community into which they live with. Every parent or every caregiver has their own unique definition of what it means to raise a child to be successful and to be able to take care of themselves in a healthy and productive way. So what is it that we actually need to do to provide our children with the best start at life? So again, whether you're a parent or someone else who has contact with the child, if you can provide them with at least one item from this list, it can positively impact their lives. Always remember to be genuine and kind. The children in our lives are very bright and intelligent and know more than what they think that they know. So giving them as much from this list as we possibly can help them to be successful now as a child and as an adult in the future. So on the left side of the screen, you'll see a list of the physical pieces that we strive to accomplish with our kids. By meeting their physical needs of a child, it can support them to grow healthy and their development to maximize. We are social beings, so we need appropriate, timely, and general physical contact with the people in our lives that we're connected to and attached to. A baby can interact with their caregiver through a variety of cries and body movements in order to get their needs met. Whether they're hungry or they're tired, or maybe they need a diaper change, they can convey that by the way they communicate, even though they don't have any verbal language at this point. As that child grows and develops, they're better able to meet their needs through words and through gestures. So as role models to our children, we can have a significant influence over this development. On the right-hand side, you'll see the emotional pieces. So children who feel loved, respected, cared for, and trusted by their caregivers will more likely grow to expect and seek those types of people out in their life. These pathways in their brains have therefore been developed and traveled and maintained and created worn paths in their brainwaves. This is called their internal working model. And we'll talk about a little bit more about this later on. This is similar to walking a path every day, over and over and over again. That path eventually becomes well-worn and much easier to point out and to walk along. Those are very similar to the paths in our brain. So what is this that I'm talking about? Well, this is attachment. An attachment can be defined as the affectional tie between a person or an animal, between themselves and another specific. So it ties and binds them together over space and endures time. It's also impacted by the child's and the caregiver's and child's ability to read those nonverbal cues. So some of the things that might be able to impact nonverbal cues, so that is our facial development, or sorry, our facial expression, our tone of voice, maybe the way our body is moving or how it's orientated in the room. Some of the things that can impact our ability to read those nonverbal emotional cues are our substance use or struggles with addiction, whether it's drugs, alcohol, gaming, gambling, over technology use, withdrawal, the impact that withdrawal can have on our ability to be present with our children. Are we dealing with our own feeling of discomfort and pain? Risky behaviors. Are we dealing with unprocessed trauma? Have we witnessed something or been exposed to something that has caused us emotional pain, and we're coping with it the best way we know how? Maybe that's with substance use. Maybe that's with over under sleeping. When we oversleep or when we undersleep, it can impact our abilities to be focused and present and accountable to our children. Financial stresses. Are we worried about being able to pay our rent? Are we worried about able to feed ourselves or our kids? Are we worried about being able to pay our bills? Relationship stresses. Is our mind being preoccupied with our partner and our relationship with them? Is it impacting our ability to stay focused, to stay present, to stay accountable? A secure attachment impacts the mental, physical, intellectual, emotional, and social aspect of a child's development, because the emotional child of the primary caregiver and the child are strong. So a little story here. What you'll see here is a mama monkey and a baby monkey. It helps. Why do we have attachment? It helps keep infants and children close to their caregivers so that they can receive the protection, which in turn helps boost their chances of survival. So what we have here is the mama monkey and the baby monkey. They might be out in the jungle having a snack. And in the distance, baby monkey says, "Mommy, mommy, look there's a lion. I see a lion." With attachment, mama monkey says to baby, "Get on my back, let's go." And they run up a tree to safety, and both are okay. If we didn't have attachment and we didn't have that physical and emotional tie to our offspring, our children, what might happen is if baby monkey was to see the lion and say, "Mommy, mommy, look there's a lion, it's coming to get us." And mommy monkey might say, "I am out of here," and run up the tree and leave her baby monkey behind. What we know that is that the baby monkey will have a very slim chance of survival. And if we don't have a higher chance of survival, it can impact the longevity of our species. Infants and children can have secure attachments with more than one primary caregiver. An example of that is when parents are separated and children are required to go to one house for a period of time and then maybe to another house for a period of time. So now that we know attachment is a deep and enduring connection established between a child and a caregiver in the early years of stages, please remember that it's never too late to create that deep and enduring relationship and emotional bond with our children. So here are some do's and some don'ts. So some of them, we're not looking at reinventing the wheel. These are some simple and easy things that we can implement into our daily lives with our children that can help with attachment. So some of the do's: making sure that we make eye contact with our children. Looking them in the eye allows them to know that we are present, that we are hearing them, and that we are listening to what they have to say. Position ourselves at our child's level. It can be really overwhelming for children to look up at us all day, and they may feel small while we feel tall. Bringing ourselves down to their level can help them feel empowered and strong. Responding in a timely and appropriate manner. So in a time where technology is available to us 24/7, it can be really difficult to pull ourselves away from our phone. Sometimes we're checking our Facebook status, or we're posting a picture on Instagram, or we're replying to an email. But being able to answer our children in a timely and appropriate manner shows them that we're there and that we care for them. Providing comfort when your child is upset. Allowing our children to feel whatever it is that they feel in this moment. Sometimes we can assign false thoughts of what we think they were feeling. An example might be as a child was running down the street and trips and falls and scrapes their knees and begins to cry. And automatically we might think that they have been hurt, but what we might be assuming it could be incorrect. What they actually might feel is embarrassed because they fell and their friends saw them. So allowing them to feel what they feel and then asking them to tell us how they feel, so we don't assign an incorrect emotion. Be genuine. Children don't understand sarcasm. Leave that for adult discussion and adult talk. So on the right-hand side is some of the don'ts. So these are some don'ts that if we can avoid them, we can help support our children in building that attachment. So don't reject your child's request for needs, right? If they need a hug, if they need a high five, if they need a snuggle, right? Over or underreacting to their situation, right? Asking them, allowing them to lead the moment and helping us to understand what they need from us. Punishment versus discipline. So when we punish with harsh consequences, we actually impact their shame and feelings of guilt. When we provide discipline, we help them to learn from their current behaviors, which allows them to make better choices with future decisions. Ignoring their signs of closeness. Sometimes our trauma or our pain leads us to not want to be close to anybody, and we might feel scared or unsafe when that is. Being able to recognize our child's need for closeness can be very, very difficult. Bringing them close as you can and safe to do so. Sometimes that might just be holding a hand or a pat on the head. So negative role modeling. Our children are sponges. They're able to pick up so many different senses, and they can pick up on so many different emotions all at once. So remember, our negative, maybe our negative role modeling can impact our children's decision making. Please remember, we're not looking for perfect parenting. We don't need to be perfect as a parent. Some days are going to be easier and other days are going to be much more difficult to parent. What we're looking is for a pattern of behavior. We're looking to do just the best that we can. So earlier I talked about the internal working model. It really represents ourself in relationship to others. So as children experience from their parents emotional availability and emotional responsiveness and supportive, that helps them to construct their self model. This helps them to believe that they are lovable and competent. On the other side, children who experience rejection, emotionally unavailable parents, and the lack of the support, their internal working model constructs them to be an unlovable, an unworthy, and an incompetent sense of self, an incompetent sense of self. So how does substance use impact our parenting? Well, sometimes we can spend less time with our children, maybe less quality and less quantity of time. Maybe we're recovering from our substance use, or we're using our substance use, or we're seeking out our substances. Maybe we have less money for activities or necessities. And what we do know about parenting is children do not need the latest Walmart toy or the best of the best toys. Being out in the community, being out in nature, really what they need is just you as the parent or the caregiver. Maybe what's impacting parenting is being outside of the home, right? Not being there or available when they need you. Missing out or minimizing on some milestones, right? Our children feel very, very proud of their accomplishments, even at these very, very young ages. And it can be impactful when we're not there to celebrate with them. Being preoccupied. So even when maybe we are in the home, we're thinking about other things, or our mind are on other things, whether that's bills, or it might be, we might be in withdrawal. Being preoccupied with that substances, or in that culture of substances, and even having negative influences in our children's life. So the people that we are spending our time with, our social connections, they also have an impact on our children. Because remember, our children are sponges and they absorb everything in the environment around them. Early exposure to substances, right? Having accidentally seen them. Reduced stability around rules, boundaries, limitations, and consequences. When we're struggling with addiction, we are struggling with tough work making changes. Go easy on ourselves, be gentle, and know that recovery is a process. So creating pathways. So please remember that no one wakes up one morning and says to themselves, hey, this is the day where I'm going to be addicted to substances. Today's the day where I'm going to, it's going to negatively impact my life. Nobody wakes up and says that. Nobody wants to negatively impact their children's life. We all struggle in parenting. We all have hard and tough days. Remember, recovery is hard work. Be gentle, go easy on yourself. Make sure you can collect and reach out to your team as you need it, because it's never too late to help grow these pathways in our children's brain. So on this side of the brain, you'll see a representation of a very stimulated brain. There's lots of red lines that indicate that the child has developed a large amount of pathways that support healthy growth and development. This development is directly impacted by the baby or caregiver's quality of the interactions. So the caregiver is likely talked to, spent time with, and even discipline when needed that child. Encourage independence, and along with empathy skills. These self-help skills are consistent and on a supportive basis, which means the child can expect relatively the same behavior from the caregiver on a day-to-day basis. Now, on the right-hand side of the screen, you're going to see a section of an unstimulated brain. So there's significantly less pathways that you can see here, as well as some of those incomplete pathways that do not successfully interconnect with some of the other pathways. Connections that are frequently used will be strengthened, and these will survive past childhood. Pathways that are not used will be discarded and pruned away from the brain. In the early years, when the child is exposed to healthy, supportive, rich learning environment by the caregiver that is emotionally present and available to the child, it will provide a wonderful learning base for their future success. Remember, the child's brain is always developing and will continue to develop into early adulthood, which means that it's never too late to build those very deep, entrenched, healthy pathways in the brain. During infancy and development, it's important to keep in mind that the social, cognitive, fine motor, and gross and motor language development does not need to come from those stores. They can come from many, many different ways in the house. And to be creative, to pull a mattress off the bed so the children can jump on them, to create hide and go seek games, or to be able to make like obstacle courses for them to participate in, and allowing them to have an opportunity to create them themselves. So we can reduce the harm to children by reducing the incidences of the following. So when we're looking at bribing for compliance, sometimes we use candy or treats or even money to get our children to do what we want them to do. We know that it can be easy at the very beginning of their lives when they're 2 or 3 and they're tired and they're cranky, and we say, hey, here's a popsicle or here's a sucker, and that brings a smile to their face and they listen to what we've asked of them. However, as our children grow older, they might actually up the ante, which means where this sucker was enough at one point in their life, but they want more and more and more, and it can get very, very complicated. Buying gifts to relieve caregiver stress, right? That might give us some immediate results and put immediate smile on their children's face, but long term, they will begin to expect to have those gifts every time they see us. So an example might be always bringing a gift if you were to go and see your child who might be in Children's Aid Society care, maybe foster care or kinship care. And sometimes we feel guilty or we might feel sad, so we may bring them a gift every time. But remember, they will begin to expect that from us. Trying to make up for lost times. So sometimes when we're trying to make up for that lost time, it may actually conflict with our ability to implement healthy boundary setting and consequences or limitations. Which help a child develop a good sense of self and stability in their lives. So blurring that line between adult and child responsibilities. So being able to keep our adult conversations with adult company. So if we're stressed about our partner, if we're stressed about money, if we're stressed about maybe problems at work, let's bring that to another adult who can actually process that information. And leaving those responsibilities with our children to be child responsibilities, like chores and bedtime. Those are the things that we can talk with our children. Sometimes we avoid making difficult decisions, even though we know it can positively impact our child. So I use sometimes the example of your child is invited to a sleepover party and a bunch of the kids from the class are going, but you've never met the parents, you don't know who's going to be there, and you're not really sure of their family philosophy, and you're not really comfortable with your child staying overnight. And you want to say no, however, you know that your child is going to be upset with that. So being able to make that decision and say no, and explain to them why and tell them why, because you know that in your heart it's the right decision not to allow them to go. Avoid avoid discussion of uncomfortable feelings, right? Sometimes we can use distraction because it's really uncomfortable for us to see our children cry or to hurt or to feel uncomfortable. And sometimes we try to distract them to those more positive emotions because that feels better for us. Right? But having discussion around uncomfortable emotions helps to develop our child's sense of self. So what have I learned from some of my past choices? So whether it's substance use or mental health, whatever our past looks like, it's an opportunity to look at that in a healthy way and say, how can some of my choices make me a better parent or help me to make better parenting choices? Looking back in our past to increase shame or to increase guilt is not going to be helpful for us as the parent or caregiver. It's not going to be helpful for our children. So be gentle with yourself. If you're looking back at your past choices, do so in a way that's going to help you move forward in a healthy way. What new skills have I developed from my experiences? Am I better able to be present and accountable and supportive? Am I better able to read the emotional cues from my children? Am I better able to ask them how they're feeling? What can I do now to help me in my goal to provide a healthier, positive, and more stable environment for my children. This is a great time to say, again, it's never too late to create that stable, healthy environment for our children. So we talked earlier about those nonverbal cues and how they can impact a secure attachment. So you'll notice here a list. We're going to go through them one by one and take a look at how accomplishing these can help with our children's growth and development. So when you look at your child with eye contact and you look at them, you get down at their level, they can pick up on those positive emotions that you're conveying. That they, even though you're not saying anything, they can feel safe, happy, and relaxed. If you're looking at them and you're feeling stressed or distressed, you may not want to look at them, or you just may automatically not look at them in the eye. This can actually increase their feelings of stress. Eye contact also helps to improve the flow of back and forth communication. So when we're talking about facial expressions, we have so many facial expressions that can convey the way we feel without even saying a word. We can convey a calm and attentive facial expression that allows or invites our children to communicate back with us. This helps them to feel secure and open about whatever it is that they're thinking or feeling. If your face looks distressed or angry or worried or sad or fearful, that can actually distract your child from being able to open up a conversation. They might feel a little bit more closed off and maybe less likely to strike up a discussion with you. Even our youngest children can pick up on our tone of voice and the way we say our words. They can understand the pitch and the tone and the cadence, and that can help them to identify if you're indifferent or if you're preoccupied, or maybe if you're conveying tenderness or concern. When talking with older children, being congruent with your tone of voice, making sure that it matches what you're saying. That helps to avoid confusion. Also, when you pair that with things like sarcasm, which children at a young age don't understand, or other things like rolling your eyes, can make children feel or lead them to feel confused about what you're actually trying to convey with them. Same thing with the pacing, the timing, and the intensity of your speech. Being able to slow your speech down, taking your time, and really paying attention to the words that you're using based on their developmental age. The way that you touch your child can can impact or can actually share your emotional state. It can show your child whether you're calm or you're relaxed and you're ready to engage, or if you're upset and unavailable. So think about if your arms are crossed. For body language, think about if your arms are crossed and your head is tilted up. That may look like you're in a position of power, and it may be intimidating for your child. However, if you sit down and your hands are gently in your lap and your posture is relaxed and open, that's a very inviting body language. Your children are more likely to come to you and engage with you. So as you put all of these pieces together, it can really spell out how your emotional state is for that moment. And our children are wired to pick up on those pieces. Remember, we're not looking for perfect parenting. We're not even looking to strive for perfection. But what we're looking for is to make some small positive changes in our parenting that can help positively impact our children. So, which way to go? So as we move into the future, there will be new opportunities to build trust and create stability and define family rules and consequences that allow children to use their mistakes as learning experience. As we guide them to develop and implement healthy problem skills, time management skills, decision-making skills, and coping skills. When we are present in the moment with our child, we can better able work through problem solving together as a team and guide them towards self-regulation, implementing calming techniques, and develop skills that will help them to be good problem solvers in the future situations by creating these deep worn pathways in their brain. It's never too late to create a lasting attachment with your child. So remember, as our brains repeat the same task or action over and over and over, it creates a deep and well-worn pathway in the brain. As this pathway develops, our brains find it easier to travel this worn pathway rather than one that's maybe less defined. If the pathways that we have developed have positive problem skills, a parent or a caregiver has supported and guided that child through the problem-solving process on many, many occasions, which has helped create a deep and worn pathway. The child will more likely use these problem-solving skills as they're taught and developed. As we move away from previous behaviors, the pathways become less traveled and they become more overgrown, and they're pruned away from the brain. It's never too late to create that lasting attachment with your child. Thank you for joining me today with this presentation, and I hope you have a lovely day.